All right, we have Laura on the phone. Lorna's mom.
I just want to thank everybody for standing up for my daughter. I just can't get over the outpour of how much they're just there. And I just thank God that they're speaking out, because this should have never happened to her. And I'm so thankful everybody's just standing up beside us.
And this has been really a difficult time for you. 4 days.
Oh, yes.
You talked about on the news tonight, 4 days that you watched your daughter in the hospital before she passed away.
Yeah.
This has got to be.
I sat there holding her hand for 4 days on life support, just praying she'd come back to me. But now we all know she didn't. But this has got to stop. This has got to stop now. I can't see anybody going through this again. They've got to do something, because I can't see another family go through this. She was my everything, my whole world. She was my only child. And this should have never happened. And they know it should have never happened.
And what would you like to see the Cannabis Control Commission do about this?
They need to step up. They need to step up and do what's right. Nobody should have to lose their life for some industry. And that's what happened to my daughter. She lost her life for this industry. And they need to admit it. They took her away when I didn't have to lose her. And they let it happen, knowing that it could happen. And I had no idea. I should have been protecting my daughter. And I didn't even know I didn't protect my daughter. And they didn't protect my daughter. And ignorance, it's so hard. That maybe I could have done something. But I didn't know. She didn't know. She didn't know anything about that this could happen. But they did know that this could happen. And they let it happen. And this has got to stop now.
What would you like to see?
It's got to stop now.
What would you like to see happen at Trulieve?
They need to take responsibility for what they did and what they knew. And they say that they had protective gear. They did not. That's a lie. My daughter went to my husband, her stepfather, asking him if he had masks that she could wear because she was having trouble breathing. So believe me, they did not have the protective gear. And if they did, they didn't let their employees know it. She should have been protected. They are not protecting their employees. And it's not right. It's not right that a child had to lose her life for their ignorance and their bottom line. And it's got to stop now. It's got to stop with her, because I could not handle seeing another family go through what I'm going through.
Oh my God.
She was my only baby. They had no right to take her from me.
We're going to keep fighting for you. We're anything that we can
Thank
do.
you.
Anything that we can do.
Thank you.
Again,
I just want to let everybody know out there, McCartney, I know McCartney very well. And I thank God that these people are standing up and speaking out now, because they have to. They have to speak out now, because it's for them, their families, and anybody else that's in this industry. It's got to stop now. They need to step up and take responsibility for what's going on in this industry. And they need to stop it.
Thank you so much, Laura, for calling in. I know we were live earlier, and I had it on your mic on mute. I screwed it up and I missed it. But you graciously called back and are like re-recording It was a traumatic
Yep.
moment. I mean, that was difficult to do in front of everybody. Now it's you and I recording, which is
Yep.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for standing up for my daughter. Thank you so much.
We're going to keep on this. We are not giving up. We're going to continue this to get justice for workers. Like you said, no more. It can't happen to anyone else. And we're going to do it in Lorna's name.
Yes.
And we're going to remember Lorna forever. We're going to keep her name and her spirit alive.
Yes. Thank you so much. It means so much to me.
Thank you, Laura, for calling in.
Thank you. Take care, Mike.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye, hon.
Bye now. Welcome. Mike Crawford, Young Jerks. Having some technical issues. Suddenly, we're not streaming on any of our Facebook. Yeah, something's up with StreamYard and our Facebook. We're down off of Facebook tonight. We're missing all of our Facebook listeners. I'm very sorry, but show must go on. We have so much to cover tonight. We opened it up with our last show. Also had some technical issues on that interview as well. That was the mom of Lorna McMurrey. This whole thing is really difficult. It's a difficult thing with the family, even my own life. And, you know, it's like really taken over. We're going back to the timeline tonight. We're going to go through the timeline step by step. Because some things happened today or this week. Number of things. We removed for that from the studio. Let's add one thing that happened today or last night, actually. See if we could let's see if we can do some simple things on StreamYard. I pay all this money for StreamYard and it doesn't work half the time. Maybe I should go back to the Zoom. I mean, come on. But here it is. We're going to post up. Here's something that happened today. It's funny how they're advertising CBD on there now. Boston Globe, Dan Adams wrote about it. Mass marijuana regulators started investigating a Holyoke Oak facility over safety complaints. Then a worker collapsed and died in a dust-filled room. Mr. Adams and two other reporters, one from Weed Week and Shara locally from Commonwealth Magazine, all three of them reported that Trulieve has been under investigation. A question that we've been asking. If you notice, we've had actually a little bit of strategy on this, and it kind of did pay off, I think, this week. I don't think the media's caught on why yet. So we're going to explain that. We're going to go through the timeline piece by piece so the media can hopefully catch up on this. But what they reported, Dan Adams reported that Trulieve wasn't, because we were asking the question, the Cannabis Control Commission is now saying that Trulieve is under investigation. When did that investigation start? Why haven't they told us when it started? Well, the Cannabis Control Commission came out with some statements, and the statement said that Trulieve hasn't been under investigation since January. They haven't been investigation in September when we thought maybe that would have started when we reported on it. No, they've actually been investigation since the fall of 2021, which would be a date before Lorna collapsed the second time. That's the key word, the second time. I want to know why the Cannabis Control Commission hasn't given us a date at this point. We still don't have a date. Fall of 2021. Why would they pick fall of 2021 instead of just saying, hey, it happened on, September 18th? Perhaps because it started in mid-November, maybe? That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing the investigation of Trulieve happened in mid-November, which would be fall of 2021. And why do I say that? Well, it's all about the timeline. The timeline. And this is why I get so angry about this case, the situation, and a lot of other folks do, the patient community, that some people are just starting to notice us and notice what we've been talking about, the workers specifically in this case. But it's also been the patient community. It's really twofold. It's patients and the patient consumers who know about this, but even bigger, obviously, the ones who have been bringing all the news and information about this is the workers. And we've been speaking to the workers for over 5 years now. The first story that we put out was January 2008. It was with Dig Boston. The story was, is there moldy cannabis in Massachusetts? In that story, there was whistleblower Ann Hassel, who had already filed an OSHA complaint sometime before that. Let's bring that up. I'm going to bring that story up as well tonight. Let's bring that up on the screen next. Ann Hassel, she basically was the whistleblower that made a big difference in this situation by far. She had all the documentation. Let's bring up Ann on the Chrome tab. Here it is. This was Ann, the first story, Dig Boston. Now, it wants me to log in. Man, I can't even put a screen share, Dig. Too many ads in front of me. I didn't think that went out too well. Oh, actually, I can click off of it. There we go. So Dig Boston, it was a moldy cannabis in Massachusetts. Contaminated flower may be getting patients and employees sick. Anna Hassel had high hopes for a new career when she applied for a job serving medical cannabis patients in New England Treatment Access, a registered medical dispensary in Massachusetts. She was a licensed physical therapist. See that? Someone serious, a licensed physical therapist. This wasn't a young person. This was someone who was a little older, who had some life experience, who knew to keep records of all the stuff that she was seeing that wasn't right at New England Treatment Access. So she basically started keeping tabs, and she filed the first OSHA complaint. And in her OSHA complaint, she claimed she was regularly exposed to mold via the cannabis flower. And she wasn't the only one. There were many other employees that we spoke to. And the story didn't end there. Basically, at that point, no one in the media did anything. No one at the Cannabis Control Commission did anything. No one at the DPH did anything. No one cared. No one did anything except the employees that were hung out to dry, who were basically traumatized by telling their story to the world and having only us care about it. May 2020. Dispensary workers note unsafe conditions during pandemic and always featured in Dig Boston again. Also featured on Midnight Mass. Again, a new round of New England Treatment Access employees. These aren't the same employees. These are 2 years later. They're saying the same things. There's mold in their cultivation site. That people are getting sick. The people are sticking paper towels up their noses. The media, the politicians, the Cannabis Control Commission, they did nothing. Now, this was all documented too on this show as well. Besides the print publications it was featured in, which it was actually a couple. I think Greenleaf Magazine also printed those up too. Might even been some other publications, but this got out there. Despite the media blackout, people saw it, and it was shared on Reddit, Boston Trees Reddit, with their many subscribers, or whatever you call them. Reddit, I forget what you call them, but whatever you call those people on Reddit, it got out there. And New England Treatment Access, even during that time, they had different answers, and then they changed their answers on Reddit. So a lot of information came out, and we did live shows with those workers. It's on the record. You can hear the audio of them speaking, saying their names, risking, future employment in the industry. Some of those workers were actually employed at New England Treatment Access at the time. Let me say that again. These employees were so concerned about these issues during a union campaign, when they know that they could be fired. They came on our show and spoke the truth. And the Boston media basically ignored it. The Cannabis Control Commission definitely ignored it. OSHA ignored it. what happened in July 2020? We did another show with some more New England Treatment Access employees, and one of them they fired. And it was pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, an illegal firing. And this is a good guy, a working class guy who was sticking up for his coworkers. And they fired him July 2020. Barely got a blip. I didn't see Dan Kennedy, Mr. Free Speech guy, covering that one. I didn't see anyone covering it. This is why I call out the Boston media. I mean, these are real things that happen over and over and over again. And you guys are just having, oh, Snoop Dogg, he signed a deal with this big, Justin Bieber, he signed with this one. And that's the coverage. Now, later in 2020, soon after that, NETA tried to name us and drag us into their stupid counter labor lawsuit with the state labor board. They basically, they put us in their lawsuit. They named our show and tried to drag us in. They lost on that. We never had to get involved in that, thank God. But that's how spiteful they were. And they actually did have a suit, labor suit against them, and they lost. They were union busting. I think that might have got reported. Very passing, quick story. Don't talk to many employees. Just quote the lawsuit and move on. That type of coverage. Certainly not a spotlight. So let's get to the what's happening lately. September 2021. We find out Holistic Industries has a mold outbreak. Employees leak documents, and these documents are from Holistic Industries, their consultants that they brought in, the experts, the scientists to clean up the place and do the testing. And the scientists show that the place was dangerous and full of mold and toxic, and that it was dangerous to the employees. So this is September 2021. This was right before they started their investigation of Trulieve. Now, we're finding out more ocean complaints. There are so many we're finding out about. We're finding out about Jushi has one. We found out this week ENSA had one. We should have put those on the timeline too, because this is overwhelming. There's so many locations. We're even scratching the surface. All the information I'm bringing to you, I'm one guy. I'm a dog walker. I walk dogs 40, 50 hours a week. I run a business. I work every day doing that business. This is supposed to be part-time for me. I'm doing it every night now. I'm taking phone calls from reporters and whistleblowers all across the country, victims. I'm not supposed to be doing this full-time. My wife isn't supposed to be mad at me because I never spend time with her because I'm doing this every night. We're scratching the surface. Fall 2021. Oh, wait, no, we're still in September 2021. Holy Oak Industries, Monson Bass, mold employees, they leaked the documents. The Monson Department of Health, they want to do something about it. Cannabis Control Commission basically comes in and shuts them down. The Cannabis Control Commission sends in an investigation team who probably are going to collect a state pension someday. And these investigators rule that it's so dangerous in the Trulieve location that they can't go in there and investigate in person, that they have to do what they call is a virtual Zoom investigation. So they investigated the mold via camera, found no issues, closed the case, moved on. And let me tell you, there's still mold there. Supposedly this place, Holistic Industries, has a plan. Supposedly they're a little more upfront than what NETA did. They at least acknowledged it right away, which I give them props for. But this is a problem. And just recently, I'm hearing from the employees just in the last week since all of this, crap has gone down. I heard they finally chopped down their cultivation. They just basically cleaned house, that they know they have a problem and that they're going to rectify it. And they basically closed down their cultivation this week. The company did that. Cannabis Control Commission did nothing. They haven't done anything to protect the workers. All this is going on. And then fall of 2021, Cannabis Control Commission says that they are investigating Trulieve off of worker complaints. November 9th, 2021. My sources indicate that Lorna collapsed and was taken out of Trulieve via ambulance. Was that when the Trulieve investigation started? And if so, shouldn't the Cannabis Control Commission taken that as a signal to do something that could have saved Lorna's life? This woman was taken out via ambulance twice out of Trulieve from work. After the first time, something should have been done. It's just too much. Like, I'm hearing reports from reporters, well, this is the way the Cannabis Control Commission rolls. They roll very slowly, and it's going to be 2024 before they do anything. No, we're not waiting until 2024. No way. No way. No way. So November 9th, 2021 is the date I have. We're going to reconfirm now. We've got a FOIA out to make sure that there was an ambulance that took her out of there that day. But I know that she was taken out by ambulance in November before she collapsed in January. January 3rd, 2022, Lorna McMurray, 27 years old, collapses, second ambulance ride. She dies 4 days later with the poor mother sitting there for 4 friggin' days. On March 20th of 2022, there was a stabbing outside a bar in Boston. A bouncer killed a patron. 4 days later, on March 24th, the Boston Liquor Commission suspended their entertainment license. 4 days. 4 days it took them. There was a death. 4 days later, they acted. On April 7th, they gave that license an indefinite suspension. They took their liquor license away indefinitely on April 7th. So what was that? 17 days they were suspended. March to April, done deal. Cannabis Control Commission started their investigation in September, months before, and it's still open. June 20th, 2022, OSHA fines Trulieve $35,219 about not communicating the risk to their employees. That should have been the moment that the Cannabis Control Commission shut down Trulieve. At least suspended them until they got their shit together. But they did nothing. They still do nothing. September 20th. September 25th. We break the news. Shortly after, Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commissioners finally find out about it. We still don't know the date of the investigation. I want to know if it was after the 11/9 ambulance ride. October 2022. Today. Union busting Trulieve. That's what I'm hearing. I remember there's going to be a big story tomorrow about Trulieve union busting. You can expect a lot more on this. So again, if you're a reporter out there, we need to know when this investigation started. And we need to have the Cannabis Control Commission explain to us how this woman was allowed to be able to be taken out of by ambulance twice, and they did nothing. And they continue to do nothing. This industry is going to fail if our regulators do nothing. This industry is going to be, there's going to be more bans, because this is not just like a one-off thing you can shut down. This is systemic. I can't even say the word right now. This is system-wide. I'm going to try to add someone from the stream right now. We got a couple comments coming in. Most of our people are missing the show because we all promoted on Facebook and we're not on Facebook tonight. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm going to put up a comment. Trent Hancock wrote, I would be asking what pesticides are being used in flour. None of us can say what caused her death without knowing what contamination was involved. So true. Blaming dust from cannabis does not make sense because no one has ever died working in cannabis grow from dust. I'm not sure about that. I mean, it could definitely, I mean, you're more of a scientist, but I feel like it could be dust. You could probably drown or on anything. Let's try to bring up the caller. I think we have a friend here of Lorna who wants to speak to us tonight. Kind of losing my shit, honestly.
I don't blame you.
Alicia,
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you really well. How am I doing?
You're perfectly clear. I'm on my phone because we had trouble earlier, so I fixed it.
Good. I'm mad too at the Facebook. Like they have to F with everything. This company is a piece of crap.
Oh, I agree with you on that one.
Like
100%.
they changed everything and now it doesn't work. It's like, come on.
It's only if they get money out of it or if they don't get in trouble from it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they let us in their program and this is what they do back to us. I think it's because we got in their program. Now it doesn't work. It's like, oh, great. Morons.
Right. Pretty much.
You're focusing on stuff that doesn't work for you, Meta.
I thought the same thing. I was like,
Yeah.
what is Meta program?
Yeah. Well, let's not even talk. Let's talk about just what we need to talk about. F Meta.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually Lorna's cousin. We grew up together like sisters. We were very close up until we were about 12 years old, and it's been about 15 years since I've seen her. So it about a week before she passed away, we were actually planning on her coming down for a week to see me and my grandmother, which was her auntie, and it was going to be for her 28th birthday, which would be the next month. But unfortunately, this tragedy took place, and I know it's been really hard on my Aunt Laura the most. I can hear it, and it's been hard on this entire family, really. So I wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this. I know an angry wife is a lot to deal with too. So I know that you're doing good for this family. It takes a lot out of all of us to think about this, but thank you.
Thank you. I gotta say too. I gotta just say because I'm probably my wife is not angry. she's just missing me. I think she's missing.
I know.
Not everything to be about one thing all the time. It's hard. It's hard. This is
humans aren't meant to be just one thing. We're a multifaceted of all many things. So
yeah. And I need her. I need the support. Laura, I know this is so hard on her.
It's hard to listen to her.
I want these regulators to hear a voice. We played it tonight. I'm so frustrated because the other night on the live, the volume got screwed up. We lost our voice. We got it recorded, put it on the podcast, which is good. We got the podcast out, but now we're trying to put it on live again. And half of our audience doesn't hear because of the Facebook crap. It's like something is like out to get me on the last two shows.
Something or maybe someone.
Maybe Laura and I can have a laugh about that.
I bet you could. I know one thing though, it's like we were talking about the safety of the employees, and I know Lorna loved her job because I talked to her for about 3 months straight before she passed away. And she loved her job. She absolutely was just high fly about it. She's like, I'm in the industry. I got in, and she was doing really well for herself. She got her car. She got, she wanted to send me back there for a visit even. And I was like, no, you save your money up and come and see us because we haven't seen you in 15 years. But she did make a last post on her Facebook about like her boss yelling at her for being too slow the day before. And that was the last post on her Facebook was she wished that people like employers were more about their employees because that's what makes the business is the employees. Like you can't run a business without having workers. And if you don't have a safe condition, what makes you think that people want to work for you? eventually it'll just get shut down. I mean, another thing too, you said that there was no date on the investigation and when it started. So my common sense tells me if they don't have a date, then did the investigation actually ever really start? Like what, like
Their
is that
newest
just
first they did
exploring?
first they yeah, I want to just make sure we're very precise on this because first they never told us a date at all. They just said they were under investigation. And then I started saying, well, when did that investigation start to everybody? And I said it on the show and all the reporters. And then the spokesperson for the Cannabis Control Commission said fall of 2021, which is so strange. Like,
That's vague.
what? What? Fall of 2020?
That's vague.
Yeah, that's very why? And I can't believe like no reporters like kind of flag that. Like, I think
That's
that
what
they
I would
need to
think.
know the details. Like, did you ever hear that there was a first ambulance ride in November?
I actually just heard about that. I didn't know she collapsed prior at work. And that to me is a big red flag because if an employee is going down at work, that should be investigated immediately. There's got to be some sort of condition as to why that happened, and they did nothing about it. This could have been prevented. This entire thing could have been prevented, and my cousin could still be here today if they would have had proper safety regulations. Instead of her having to go to her stepdad and asking for like respirators and stuff for work, because that shows that they don't have the equipment available for their employees to be working.
Yep.
Like,
And with
if
all
you
this
gotta go
money
ask
coming
for
into the
respirators,
state, that they need to give the Cannabis Control Commission, like, and I think actually not even give it to the Cannabis Control Commission. I think they should start a new cannabis regulatory agency that just inspects these places.
I
That's their
agree with
only
you
job. They don't
100%.
even work for the CCC. They have their own budget and they go in and they make sure the workers are safe
I
because they're
agree with
making
you
so
100.
much
They
money
they
off of
do that
this.
for every other.
They have a
Oh, I
responsibility to
know, and that's
protect the
all it
workers.
is.
The state is making
That,
they're making a shitload of money off of this cannabis tax.
and like that's where it comes down to. It is money. Is if they probably think that my cousin is a replaceable person because she was just in the industry as what did Miss Ford say before? When you're coming in and you're just flying around, you're not actually a permanent like stature in the place. I forget what the terminology is, but yeah, she wasn't a permanent part. So to them, they probably thought she was replaceable, and that to me is just not okay. Like it doesn't matter if a person's temporary worker or not. They're still a worker. They're still invested in your company. They still put time and sweat and tears into your company, and they should be taken seriously.
Absolutely.
But
Otherwise,
I
I
just don't
mean,
understand
especially in
how
this environment, these work
oh,
environments are not safe. There are so many
how
issues
do you
in them.
so my question to you is how do you conclude a virtual Zoom meeting as an investigation? Like that is not the same as being up close and in the actual facility itself and seeing with your own two eyes. That doesn't give you the actual like ability to investigate something. That's just what are you afraid of being exposed to the same thing my cousin was exposed to? So that's why you're doing it from like a safe virtual place and saying, "Oh yeah, that's okay. We'll just pass it because we didn't see anything because we're not actually there."
Yeah.
Like I don't get that either. That shouldn't be even a thing. That should just be that doesn't count. That's not being there in person and actually being in the area that of operation where you have to see for yourself and be in that environment in order to understand what a person goes through.
Yeah, I think it smells like a cover up. I mean, I
That's
think all of this
exactly what it
stuff,
smells like.
it's a lot of tax revenue. It's people that like the executive director, Sean Collins, what's he going to do after he leaves? He's been there for 5 years. He's very proud of his accomplishments for the Cannabis Control Commission. They don't want a scandal. I'm pretty sure that he would love to go work at Trulieve or one of these other companies after he finishes his time with the Cannabis Control Commission, or maybe he wants to go work at Crawford and Smith or whatever it is, the law firms that represent all the dispensaries. I mean, this is what's going on, right? It's a revolving door.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just putting it. It's like what the school or the and pardon my French. I like this. I like to compare it to like a the Catholic system where they put priests and other areas where they're not supposed to be, instead of like taking them out of the system. It's similar. It's a rotation. It's where they like, oh, it didn't work here, let's just put them somewhere else that's close by, you know. That way they still keep their job and they still get money, but they don't get in trouble.
Holy shit, are we back? I think we're on Facebook right now. I think Facebook it's funny because I'm not watching the numbers rise. Is that weird? What is going on with the Facebook? Maybe I started too early. I only started a couple minutes early. Something's up with Facebook because now we're on every Facebook. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm sorry you missed most of the great episode. You'll hear it on playback. Something's wonky on the Facebook, but thank you for listening. We have a what do you call you? Say you were a cousin.
But we grew up with sisters. We called each other sister cousin.
Sister cousins. Okay.
We're like, what's up, sister cousin?
We have a sister cousin of Lorna McMurrey, the Trulieve worker who passed away. And we're just talking about a relationship with Lorna. I mean, I hate to talk about this, but I think people need to know. I mean, I think you can hear it in her voice when we play the audio from the mom, Laura. But this has really destroyed her, hasn't it?
It has. It's been so difficult for my auntie. Like, it never gets any better when you lose a child. It never gets any better when you lose somebody that you're that close to, because my auntie Laura and my sister cousin, they were very close. That was her baby. That was her everything. Ever since Lorna was born, that was her life. And you know, like, I remember making mud pies in the backyard with my cousin and seeing my auntie Laura and my grandma there in the backyard. We had a lot of fun growing up. We used to go. We had a couple of trips going back to Massachusetts from California, because that's where I live, is California. We took the train back there, and that was one of the greatest memories that my grandmother and I have, is with my cousin on the train. And we would be playing on the Nintendo Game Boys, playing Pokemon and trading Pokemon and stuff, and just having a blast. It was fun. The seeing sidecar going through like New Mexico and stuff, seeing thunderstorms in the sidecar. You know, those are memories that I can't ever get back again, because this whole thing could have been prevented. And because of that, I'm never going to have memories like that again. And that's what I cherish. That's what my grandmother cherishes. And I'm thankful for those memories, but there still should be more. There should have been more. I was looking forward to seeing her for her birthday, for the whole week, for her coming down to California to see us. And now that's never going to happen.
Oh man.
I just wish people, I know that my sister would be more than ecstatic to know that she's in High Time magazine right now. She's probably fist pumping right now, going, "Oh my God, I made it!" Like, I could just picture her right now. She was such an enthusiastic person, and she had the biggest heart. Like, friends were family, family is family, and you know, we had a lot of the same taste in music, all different kinds of stuff. Like, she was my sister growing up.
Oh, I love
and
that. I love the High Times thing, because I was the same way, and I remember like the first time I was in High Times, and it actually scared the shit out of me because I had a real job, and I was like worried I was gonna get fired. So that's how I actually came up with the name Mike Can for quite a while. People still call me Mike Can, because I was afraid, because I was gonna be, you know, I didn't expect to be in High Times when they put me in. It was just like one of those. They took a picture of me and threw it in there, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
You're like, I'm excited, but I'm also scared.
Yeah. So I'm happy for Lorna that we did get her in High Times twice now, 2 stories in her. You know, it's I don't know. This is really difficult. You know, this should not have happened. It's just like,
no, it shouldn't have.
I wish I had known her. You know, it's like it's awful.
The only way that anybody could know her now is through the people that loved her. And you know that she was a spitfire. Like, if you got on her bad side, she'd let you know. It was pretty commendable. Like, she has the vocabulary of a very well-educated sailor at times.
She don't fuck around.
No, she didn't take anybody's part of my friend's shit. But
you know, it's so funny because I've been telling guests for years not to swear on the show generally. And I'm
I
just
always feel
dropping
part of
them
it.
left and right on the, I'm like, all the rules are out the window. Lorna's changed us all,
She would be
another
proud.
thing.
I know
Yeah.
that she would be proud.
Yeah. Another thing, we're all swearing like her, you know, I want to keep her name alive no matter what. Like, I don't want to even focus on that at this point, but that's like the long-term goal. Like, we got to keep her name alive, but
Keep it out there. I mean,
before we
I'm
do
on
that, we
here
got to win
because
this. We got to win in like big ways. Like, number one, we got to reform this industry. I
amen.
want to see Trulieve shut down. I want to see
I
people
do too.
shop
I
in
do
there.
too.
Yeah, and
Like,
there's
companies should not exist if they're letting their employees collapse at work and then let them back in and then have them end up, going out on a gurney to never be seen again. Like, that is not okay. Like, you need proper safety regulations. You need to, and like McCarthy said before with the CPR regulations, that should be a thing. No hold barred. Like, that should be a mandatory thing for the industry because nobody did anything. Like, my cousin was waiting for an ambulance and nobody did anything, and then the safety dude that's on he gets a promotion. Like, how do you get a promotion a month after somebody passes away? Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, it's
that's this
infuriating. My
industry.
cousin should still be here and you guys didn't do your jobs. Now my aunt's the one that's going through the worst part of it. Like, she should still be here. My cousin should still be here. She should have been on a train already and came down here and visited my grandmother and I. I was so proud of her. She was doing so well. She finally got to where she wanted to be, and then this entire thing just happens and takes her out, and it wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary to happen.
Definitely was not.
Ugh.
Laura said on the show last week, she started blaming herself, and I didn't even say anything. I was just like speechless when she was speaking the other night. I was tired too because we had just done a long show, and it's not Laura's fault. It's so
No, it's
horrible
not.
that she blames herself. It's like, Laura, it's not your fault. You didn't know. It's not your fault. It's Truly's fault. The Cannabis
She
Control
feels
Commission.
that she feels that she failed in protecting her
She
baby.
didn't fail her baby.
I know she didn't.
Yeah.
And Laura, if you're listening to this, I love you. You didn't fail Lorna. Lorna would be more than hell of a proud of you right now, like, because you're doing something about it. You're doing something about it, Auntie. It's something needs to change, and this is the change that needed to happen. And it's unfortunate, but my cousin's going to live on from this. Like, there's no way in hell I'm not gonna do something about this. Like, I'll help however I can, if it means a voice at a time or it means a tear at a time, but Lorna's death is not going to be in vain, and I'll be damn sure to not let anything cover it up.
We're all with you. We're all with you 100%. Ann Hassel just wrote, there should be a law that cannabis control commissioners have to wait at least 5 years until going to work in the cannabis industry. I agree with that, but I think it should be even taken further. I think that we should take it for the executives at the Cannabis Control Commission, because Sean Collins, I feel like he's probably one of the most powerful people at that commission. He's not a commissioner. And the reason I say that is because he's been there for 5 years. He's
Exactly.
been the director basically for 5 years running that place, right? He's been that guy, where these commissioners are coming and going every year. Like, I don't know, like, these commissioners are all brand new now. Basically, they're all new. So it's like, I feel like it should, we need to take a serious look at this cannabis industry on a regulatory level. How do we fix this? And that includes bringing politicians in. People need to start talking to their local electeds. I saw my state rep elect. We were both walking dogs the other day. We were talking about this for about good 20 minutes. And we've even talked on, Facebook since then. And, talking to other folks. And you got to reach out. If you know politicians, if you know your state rep, even if you don't, email them, call them, tell them you're concerned about cannabis. Tell them you're pro cannabis, like I am. That's what I tell them. I'm one of the people who passed the law, but I want to make sure it's done right for workers. Workers are being damaged. And if workers are damaged, this is going to ruin our industry. So we need to stop it. And it needs to stop. And this is even the other folks in the industry. You know, there's a lot of people who are silent. They're afraid to rock the boat. I'm talking about the business owners. You need to
Oh
speak
yeah,
up too, because your livelihood is on the line. Like, you don't know how quickly this can turn. You know, this could turn into be like an epidemic. It sure seems like it from all the stuff I get. You wouldn't believe the stuff that I get and the phone
I can
calls.
imagine.
You can't imagine. I can't
No,
keep
I
track
couldn't.
of it.
And you're just one guy. You're not
Yeah,
even.
and what happens if the Boston Globe does decide to focus on this and do a spotlight? What if Dan Adams wakes up tomorrow, which I hope he does, and says, I'm going to go talk to 30 employees and document everything they say and look into it? Because I guarantee you, if he does, he's going to find a lot of shit. And that's what all these reporters should be doing. You know, don't just stop at this issue at Trulieve. And I think that you should be trying to reach out to Trulieve employees. Yeah, big time. But there are plenty of other big dispensaries and wherever you are in your backyard that have similar problems in their cultivation. And it's the
Exactly.
big boys. It's the ones that have huge debt. They're publicly traded. They're the ones that don't give a shit about their workers. Safety goes last.
Product goes first, safety goes last. I mean, it comes down to greed over everything.
Anne has another comment. She said, it's so wrong that Lorna had to die because greedy Trulieve didn't value her life. Boycott blood cannabis. Well said. And there are folks, I know that there have been some union folks out there and they're spreading the word outside those dispensaries. And I heard that people are walking out. Like, you know, people who are thinking about going in are deciding not to go in because they're getting educated about what's going on. Even
Exactly.
outside of those places and through the show and through the media. So I think people need to stop going to these places. If they're treating their workers poorly, and let me tell you, we're making a list. We're working on a list. We got a lot of names, a lot of documentation right now. But if you want to add to that, call us, mjcboston@yahoo.com, or you can, you know, leave a voicemail, 978-560-3155. mjcboston1@yahoo.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at the Young Jerks, JURKS. A lot of ways you can reach us at Facebook as well at the Young Jerks. I also on Facebook under Mike Crawford. We also have a YouTube. So many ways you can reach us. Follow us on all those things, and also make sure you're subscribing on our iTunes. My name is Mike Crawford. We have a guest here who was you're the god sister. Is that what we're
I'm the cousin, sister cousin.
sister cousin? I keep screwing this up.
It's all good.
I have to write it down because I'm
we
losing
we
it
made a
today.
joke before. We're like, that sounds pretty hillbilly-ish, but we're going with it.
The sister cousin. I like
Yep.
it. It
Thank you.
explains it.
We grew up as sisters, but we're cousins by blood.
And we're talking, and it's Alicia. I'm saying it right, right?
You got it right the first time. Thank you.
Alicia, thank you.
Everybody calls me Alicia, and it's a bad. It's irritating, but you got it right. Thank you.
Surprising. I usually
That is
screw it up.
most people do, but you're not most people.
Oh, thank you. You aren't either. You've done really good on this show. I want to thank you so much for calling in and telling us about Lorna. What would your final words for the audience be tonight about this situation, or even something you want to tell us about, more about Lorna?
If anything that I could say would be to cherish the people that you love the most, because you never know when you're going to see them again. Because it's been 15 years now since I've seen my cousin, and we were going to see one another again, and now I'll never get to. Another thing too is just spread awareness. Make sure that people are aware of what needs to be done in the workplace, and not, go into an industry where they don't protect you, where they don't care about you, where you're just another replaceable pawn. Like, it's not okay. You want an industry that cares about you. And if anything, always make sure that you're okay. And I talked to her the night before this happened, and it's hard to think that they'll message you back at any moment. It's hard to sit there and think that they're not really gone, especially when you're so far away, because I'm all the way in California, and she's all the way in Massachusetts. So it feels like any moment now she'll just message me back like nothing. And that's the hardest part, is going on without having those answers, without hearing from them again. So just cherish the ones that you love the most, because, you know, tomorrow's never promised.
Thank you so much. And what would you tell the Cannabis Control Commission right now, who hasn't done
Take
anything?
responsibility. Take responsibility for everything that you're doing wrong, and you know, be human. Just be good people. Don't let this happen to anybody else, because, you know, I hate to hear my Aunt Laura cry and blame herself over this kind of stuff. If money is more important than a human life to you, you got your priorities backwards. You guys got to take responsibility for this, and you guys can't keep covering this shit up, because the truth always comes out in the wash.
Now, the Cannabis Control Commission's excuse has been, I just want to, make sure we present their side of things.
Oh, here we go.
They're saying that they have a policy not to inform the commissioners before they've finished an investigation, and that
Is that
they're waiting.
investigation Zoom inquired, or?
I know, right? And they're waiting for the Massachusetts Department of Health, who doesn't really have the best record on this shit either, and OSHA to finish their investigations, which seems kind of weird because OSHA already fined Trulieve for this.
Yes.
OSHA, I feel like, has already completed their investigation, so that seems kind of false and not
OSHA
true.
was the one that actually stood up and, you know, approached my aunt and said, you know, we'd like to investigate this. Like, they were the ones that put their foot in the door about this. So I do thank them. I mean, you know, they did something that the other places didn't, which they should have immediately. But, you know, it's just, I can't believe this is all happening right now. I can't. It's the weed industry. I mean, you're supposed to be like cool, man. Like, no joke intended, but I mean, if the the alcohol industry took like less than like 17 days to do something after a suspension over somebody getting killed, like bouncer via pedestrian or whatever, like, why is it taking more than 10 months for the weed industry? I mean, maybe I get that, you know, cannabis is supposed to calm you down, but that's a little out of jurisdiction right now. You guys
Yeah,
need to
it's pissing me off because it's like they're treating worker safety and consumer safety like it's a guy screwing up his application to get a weed license, or a company that stole some weed or something. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. It's like a
they're
slap
acting
on the
like these little
hand.
white collar crime things are the same as a death, as toxic workplaces, as toxic
They just shrug it
products.
off.
Like, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's like they're just shrugging it off. Like, it's no big deal. Like, it's a big deal. It is really a big deal. It might it's gonna come around and bite them in the ass. That's all I have to say. If they don't take responsibility and step up for what they have done wrong, like, you know, I get that things happen in trial and error, but this is an error that could have been prevented a long time ago, from the first time that she collapsed. Like, it's unnecessary, and nobody else should have to go through what we're going through. Like, I pray to God nobody else collapses at work. I pray to God that nobody has to go through what my cousin did, because it's just not right. It's not. It's a human life that you're playing with. There's lives in this industry. We're not cattle. Like, you can't just like send us off to slaughter. That's not how this works.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know this is difficult to speak about, and I thank you so much for telling us
Thank you
about
for having
Lorna.
me.
I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much, Alicia.
Thank you, Mike.
Did I say it right this time? Sometimes I
Yes,
screw it
you
up.
did. You said it right every time. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank
You
you,
have a
Alicia.
good night.
You have a good night.
Bye.
Bye now. That was the sister cousin of Lorna. My name is Mike Crawford. This is the Young Jerks. We're going to have a lot more on this. Things are happening. Things are happening. A lot of shit's happening. Stuff I can't talk about right now, but I think maybe tomorrow or the next day, sometime this week, there's going to be some big news happening. And I would expect people to get ready because we're not going to be sitting still on this, if you know what I mean. The fight continues for Lorna. We're getting justice for her and for workers in the cannabis space. Not one more worker death. Not one more. A gentleman just posted a comment. I was discriminated by my former company with racial comments. So my new board son in Massachusetts, you hit us up. Hit us up. We want to hear all your worker complaints. Hit us up. We want to hear about them. We got email, phone number, voicemail. You can call in right now if you want. You can also leave a voicemail at that number. We got it up on the screen for you. My name is Mike Crawford. You can always call in. 978-560-3155 is our studio line. You can also leave voicemails there too. We're going to stay on this until the end and expect a lot more. Mike Crawford, we will see you soon. Not sure when. If you missed the beginning of this episode, please replay it. There was a Facebook issue. We didn't go live right away. I don't know if they, replayed it for you. If you got to see the beginning of the show, I think it's very informative. People need to see it. If you can, please share it. Please subscribe to us on iTunes. We got a lot of followers now on the podcast. That's really helping. If you don't, please subscribe to us on iTunes, The Young Jerks, and give us a review up there if you can. Mike Crawford, we'll see you soon.